Working for the Mavs when they made the Luka trade. What is that like? Like, because I would just imagine most employees were just like, they're all like fans.
Should he state like what he was doing and what his roles were?
Yeah,
like that
go
sort
ahead.
of thing?
Sure, yeah. I was VP of content with the Mavs for 7 years. So I oversaw social, video, photo, off-court, which is community. Dealt a lot with sponsorship. Had a good amount of interaction with the basketball side whenever we needed to.
You created Mavrello?
No, I actually didn't.
Okay.
No, I killed Mavrello.
Okay. Was
if
that
we want to
you?
talk about that.
It wasn't pre him.
No.
Oh, okay. It happened concurrently.
Matt, the intro. I'm trying to remember.
You were there when Mavrello
So you
happened.
oversaw a lot of it. But...
I was there when Mavrello happened. I will take credit for killing it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You didn't like Mavrello.
It got handed off. It was somebody externally was running it and convinced Mark it was a good idea. And Mark's like, whatever, try stuff. And they did it, and they didn't want to run it anymore or pay for, the Twitter handle, someone running a Twitter handle, someone doing the voiceover, someone doing the animation. So they tried to hand it off internally. Like, look at this success. Let me hand it off to you, now marketing people to run with this.
They tried to foist Mavrello on you.
They did. They did, and I was like, cool, and I knew exactly where to send it, where it would get tangled up and die.
But you didn't do like a end of the story, actually, like they did with... They do with some brands.
Yeah,
right?
and they tried to write a story for like the death and rebirth of Mavs Man. There was like a comic book story, remember?
Okay.
There was something to it because he's a robot now.
I don't like that.
He's a Power Ranger.
I like the old Mavs Man.
Me too. His skin was
Who
ball.
once had sex with a basketball. Yeah.
Yes.
Or his parents did.
Well, no, it was him. He was next to some chemicals.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mavs Man used to be badass. They used to drop him down from the ceiling, upside down, like spinning,
I
with
remember.
like sparklers in his hand.
And it was a reunion, which just felt
that doesn't
more
seem
wild.
safe at all.
It
Hell
wasn't.
no.
It wasn't at all.
No.
But it was badass.
Owen Hart era.
Can
right?
you still book him?
Yes, you can.
What does he
Like
do?
for parties and
I
stuff?
don't know.
What does he call?
I don't know. He'll
Dude,
like
we
change
gotta
your
do that
oil.
for
I've been saying it.
summer event or whatever.
Yes.
Winter event. Let's do a winter event.
Have him up
I've been
Santa
threatening-
Claus Mavs Man.
Every year, I've been threatening my mom. I'm like, I'm going to champ and Mavs Man show
Wait,
for Mother's
Santa
Day
Claus,
instead.
man? So people go up and get... Let's do that.
Yeah, we'll have
That's
at our
awesome.
Christmas.
That's awesome. You just go up, sit on his lap.
Sit on Mavs Man Santa's lap and take a photo.
He doesn't speak, so it's like a real
Yeah, but
limited.
That's perfect.
it is. Write that down.
Yeah. I'm going to have him like changing oil and like edging the yard and shit like that.
Fuck your wife. Or whatever.
Or whatever.
So,
Weird.
director of content.
VP of content.
VP of
Thank
content.
you. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean,
So, not Pants DJ.
I was not there at that time. I got brought in because all those people got cleared out.
Mm-hmm.
That was the timing on that. Yeah, I mean, I experienced it probably similar to most people on that night or date. I didn't see it that night. I actually went to sleep and woke up the next morning, like the Sunday morning, like it's
A million texts?
Yes, yeah. It's my morning with the kiddo on Sunday morning, so I get up a little early and start doing stuff and get ready, and it is the first thing I see, and then I check 5 different sources, and I don't know, man. I didn't internalize it for a really long time because I don't know if you understand what a VP of content does whenever there is a player like Luka on your team. Like, we have somewhat of a relationship. I know all of his management. I know all of his people. We went to Madrid because of him a year before. I've met his mom. I've met his dad. I know all these people. And we went to Madrid strictly because of him and just, like, met everybody out there that played with him and coached him and went to a Real Madrid game. And it's just, I don't know. It wasn't even, I wasn't feeling for him even at that point. I was like definitely feeling for myself because I helped whatever percentage you want to lay on what I did for him and his legacy. Does he become a fan favorite or not without this messaging and without us doing as much as we did? I don't know, whatever the percentage is. But I helped build his legacy. I helped make him as popular as he was. That was my job. Protect him and make him a global star. And you just traded it. You just threw it all away. You threw all of it away. And not just that he's gone, You traded him, and you pissed every single person that in my heart of hearts I'm working for. I'm working for the fans. I always consider in that role I was working for the fans. Not if Sint wants something, that's great. If the fans completely disagree, like, we're going to have a conversation. If Mark wants something, that's great. If the fans revolt against it, we're going to have a conversation. So I always considered myself working for the Mavs fan, because I am one. And the decision you just made not only rips away the thing I'd been working on for 7 years, but also pissed every single person off, universally. And furthermore, it made us a target to be dunked on constantly for the next 2-3 months. And there's some agreements you make whenever you start working somewhere, some unspoken agreements that you make with your employer. And one of those is, like, you're not going to use me as a human shield and completely tarnish my career's work to that point. And that broke that. That completely broke that. So that was my feelings at the time.
You mean, like, getting dunked on, like, Mavs Twitter has to still exist?
Yeah, it has to still exist. There's still sponsorships that are happening.
To their credit, or your credit, or somebody's. Mm-hmm. I mean, it probably would have been a story if you left the comments off.
Yeah.
I don't know that you actually deserve credit for that.
Well, everything's a story at that point. That's what sucks.
But I would
there is no move that's not.
I would go to it just for the comments.
Yeah.
Just to see them, hey, welcome AD to town, or whatever it is that you meekly tried to do.
Yeah.
I mean, because this is uphill.
That's the other thing is, like, not only is everybody turned on you and everything's a story, there are a lot of different opinions about how this should go now than there were the day before he got traded. There are a lot of different people chiming in that you don't know and you've never heard from in your life.
About how what should go?
All of it. Okay, we traded for AD. We need to go get on the plane with AD tomorrow. Like, that type of stuff where it's just like, okay, does basketball ops know y'all want that? It's go do this now, fix this thing, make people like us again right this second.
Oh, and that's on your plate now.
Yeah.
So people that didn't maybe care about what you were doing as much before are all of a sudden now like, hey, let's bring in the triage team.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Because I think it's also important to know, and we can go through this, I guess, but you know, everybody knows now that Scott Tomlin left. The guy who was in charge of communications. If you're a Mavs fan, you probably know Scooter Tomlin by now.
Best dude on earth.
Was fired. He works for Dirk's foundation now, was here forever. He's the guy who brought Dirk back out from the showers in 2011. You know, Dirk was at his mom's funeral, the whole thing. The person he was replaced by, I don't really know, despite my best efforts. I've emailed 4 or 5 times trying to get, you know, this or that moving. Even, I believe, at the end of our time on the ticket, never got a response. And, like, whatever, I get it. It's us. It's a podcast. But it's not like you hear a bunch of Mavs players on the ticket or the fan like you used to either. And I started asking people, like, dude, what is this person's deal? Like, do I have the wrong email address? Like, the PR for a sports team will email you back and be like, thanks, no. That's what they do. So the person that replaced Scooter, to my knowledge, had never worked for a sports team before, right? Is that correct?
That's accurate.
So, like, most people, like, Mike had worked for the Cowboys before the Mavs. You don't end up as the head of comms for an NBA team without having worked for, like, the Tulsa Drillers or something, at least. So now we have someone who's never dealt with a basketball trade in any capacity, or sports trade rather, who is trying to manage the messaging and communication after the most controversial trade in the history of the industry.
Expand that a little bit as well. There are, I think, 6 people on the basketball side that have VP and up positions. Nico at the top before you. Well, keep going further. Go all the way up. Of the people that are, I would say, leadership on the basketball ops side, 4 of the 6 had not worked for a professional sports team prior to this season.
That's
Ownership,
like the performance guys.
They've never owned They've never owned a sports team. Your GM has worked for Nike. He did not work in a. I guess this year's not fair. Go further back. This is their first job for a professional sports team.
But the GM thing also, we've talked about this quite a bit. When he was hired, it wasn't really to be the full, like you're a traditional GM.
Correct.
It was Cuban's the GM.
Uh-huh.
But you're now my relationship guy. I got my quants over here.
You know the people I don't know. You can get in some of the rooms I can't get into because I'm Mark Cuban, and I've either pissed this person off or don't have a relationship with them.
But yeah, then when the sale happened and somehow, Nico gets the confidence of the new owners, and all of a sudden now he's doing things he was not actually hired to do, like make a trade all on his own.
Mm-hmm. But and that's
that magnitude.
That's the one we talk about for sure. But I do think it's important, like to his point, that there were several people there. This was completely new ground for them.
Yeah. Which is really in contrast. I remember when Cuban bought the team, and we thought he was going to clean everybody out because he's Cuban. And he's wild and bombastic, and I need my own guys, and he's got his own opinions about everything. But he kept everybody in place. Now, he ended up pissing off Don Nelson eventually and getting in their little match and but at least for a few years, he kind of kept the structure in place and realized.
Oh yeah, he kept Keith Grant there.
I need to kind of learn from them.
Yeah, you need that foundation you need some guardrails if you're new because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have bad opinions.
And they buy a team that's really good already.
Yeah,
like it's an NBA Finals. At least pretty close. They were in the.
All you have to say is they have a guy, because there's like 8 of those. They bought a team where they already had a guy.
Luka.
Yeah.
Okay. You say there's 8 of those. I might limit if the Luka level. There's
right,
but maybe 3 of those.
You're in the group of we can make some serious cash on this team because we're going to be in the playoffs every year. Gate, which is where they make the money.
And the number one rule is you don't get rid of the guy.
Yeah, and I think, speaking of getting rid of the guy, that's the part that's interesting to me is just the way – I don't know anything about Patrick Dumont. I know a lot more about his mom. But that they didn't have those guardrails necessarily. And, I just wonder – because, Mike and I are very close, but I feel weird asking him about Mavs stuff sometimes, especially when all this was going on. I know it was hard for you. I don't think you thought about how hard it was for your friends. Very difficult to be like, I want to talk to him, but I would also look at the Mavs tweet replies, and while you were laughing, I was like, I'm not sure I've ever had a friend in a worse professional position than this one right now.
Yeah.
And when I talk to you, you seem bummed.
You write the tweets?
No. I made it. I made it just a social person that.
But still, you're having to be. I promise. Okay, let's just say this: in the fallout, what are the meetings like?
They were ranged from where do we go now? The internal meetings were ranged from what is our message now?
And who's in that? Rick is in that. Rick Welts is in that.
He was in one for sure.
Dumont?
No.
And Nico in one, maybe, no?
No.
I thought there was one.
Are you speaking up in those?
Yeah, for sure.
I just don't know how opinionated you are in front of people like Rick Welts.
Yeah.
That's a fair question, but the answer's always just going to be yeah.
What, about Mike?
Yeah.
Or Machine?
Yeah.
I would.
Oh, yeah.
But I also know others might not.
He's more you than me.
Okay.
The president, or I guess CEO, Rick, he'd been there 40 days. He wanted people to speak up, number one, and just what's next. And, I was one of the more tenured people that is skins on the wall across the board.
You and Dwight Powell.
Me and Dwight Powell were kind of leading the organization at one point. No, it was just people would look for me of what should we do in service to the fans at this time or how to move forward. And before the Cooper Flag thing, it was very much next year's a Hardwood Classic year. We got to remind people why they actually care about the Mavs originally, and we can't. we got to talk as little as we can about this team that's about to take the court as possible, because it's just gonna piss people off.
Is that when you reach out to Mark Aguirre?
We're doing that anyway, but
I figured.
Yeah.
At some point, what was the hang up there? Just him?
No, I don't know. I think people had left the organization that, Keith Grant left the organization, right, and retired, and I think he might have been the conduit to Aguirre. I'm not sure. But people just hadn't reached out to Aguirre, and
It was cool for him. He was balling. His eyes out.
yeah,
Yeah.
He's actually crying.
yeah.
So, does it get heated in those meetings? Because I guess let me
The
say this.
people
At
that
the
made
core
it-
of it, you can't. The root issue is not one that can be solved. Like what's
Exactly.
done is done. So now,
Because nothing like this has ever happened. Like Rick Welts even tried to say, when we traded Monte, like,
Yeah, not
come
close.
on, bro.
Not close.
There's nothing like this.
No.
Not close. No, it's
And
the first-
reason you do it is somewhat PR as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, like, if that superstar ends up asking out, okay.
Yeah.
Now it's off of us. Now the fans can still remain loyal. LeBron, we're going to burn LeBron's jersey because he decided to leave.
you want to come back?
You can't. Yeah, you can't. Oh, of course. Then you accept them back. If
Yeah.
I mean, the first couple of meetings were not productive in any way. It was just people being very pissed off.
who? What do you mean?
Everybody that worked for the organization on the business side, when we were getting together, we couldn't have constructive conversations because it was just like a whole bunch of just sitting there going like, fuck. Okay, fuck, yeah. Like every idea we had, we were like, everyone's pissed at us. And there was no ground to be made up. It was like, time is going to have to pass. And I can't make time pass faster for people just to stop yelling at everyone that worked for the Mavs as if we were responsible.
Yeah, you're not a soup. I imagine some soups could do that if you had that certain power.
I think that's.
You like The Boys?
I was gonna say Stranger Things.
The Boys.
It was The Boys.
Yeah, I don't
Is that
know.
what
He's
you're
into
talking
a lot. He's having.
I've seen a season, yeah.
You've heard him. You heard him right.
There you go.
Did you see the one where the guy was getting yelled at because of the tweets for the basketball team he worked for, the superhero?
Mm-hmm.
He was a regular guy.
Just like you.
He turned green. He couldn't turn it off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like you.
So I was going to ask you about when the sale happened and Cuban was no longer majority governor and therefore I guess not involved in. Well, let me ask you, how involved after that was he? From before, did you just see him way, way less, like communication-wise? Because I imagine his role reduced on the business side and the basketball side, like, together, or no?
No, I mean, he wasn't really hands-on with the business side consistently in my time there.
Unless somebody came through with a dope idea like Mavrello.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you had the one silver bullet, which is
Cuban time.
Mavrello Bolovich.
Cuban time.
Yeah, I mean, he was always on the periphery. Like, I'd see him, and I'd be on emails with him every once in a while, and if I had a problem, I could definitely shoot him an email, and he would be like, okay, here's what I would do, and then he would, look, to his credit, dude, he would follow up.
Sure.
Like, if I, texted you about something, you might not, follow up, a month later and be like, did that thing get resolved?
Yeah.
He would legitimately follow up and be like, did that thing get fixed?
Again, to your point.
Or do you need me to talk to other people?
Cuban will email you back that day and be like, I can't do it today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I mean, he was in and out. He wasn't
Cuban to email you back, but not the PR director of the Mavs.
Yeah.
He wasn't chiming in on my inbox consistently, and we sat in maybe a couple meetings over the 5.5 years, right? But on the basketball side, it's because he's on the basketball side, I assume, that entire 5.5 year period, and then obviously the sale happens, and I know December 20th is obviously the day it sold. There were some decisions that were still lingering going into the next season, a lot around broadcast. In January or so.
December 23?
Yeah, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
January, we're trying to figure out where we're going to be broadcasting on the next year. If this is going to be another Bally's year, if we're going to figure out WFAA, if a local station's going to take our stuff. And I know he was still involved in that to the extent that someone mishandled something along those lines and they got run for it. And he was involved in it. In the decision to let that person go. But that's pretty much the last time that I saw him involved in really anything on the business or basketball side was January 24. And it was very confusing for everybody internally.
Yeah.
Extremely confusing.
So there was never anything verbalized.
No. Is this sale?
This is now the structure. This is whatever.
Yeah, well, they sent out the proper wording on it, like Patrick Dumont is now governor, which is, I know what that means. We talked at the time. I was like, I don't think this is what Mark is saying it is, but he's saying he's still in control.
Yes, seeing him holding the trophy after they win the Western Conference was like...
That should have been all you needed to
whoa.
know.
Yeah.
Just that we've never seen this person.
Yeah, and just like the slow like divorce of like, oh, dad's living at another house. What does that mean? Like, I don't... It was just really, really weird directionally because there were people, I mean, you know, Mark runs a unique business wherever he goes. And there were people in the Mavs who kind of existed to respond to Cuban stuff. To go like, hey, Mark wants to see this thing. Let me handle that. I'll run with that and we'll move on. And he just wasn't there anymore and it wasn't explained what his involvement was, and he would still chime in on certain things like maybe once or twice over that next like 6 to 12 months. It's a whole organization that was built to answer to what he wanted, and now he's not there and there's not somebody in that role. Sint did a great job of like just like filling in there and going like, we're gonna do this and whatever, and covering for I guess a lot of the stuff that eventually would happen. And a lot of like light that would be shined on the new ownership group, but man, it was super confusing.
Just as far as like light being shined on them, just as far as how disconnected they were, as far as
and their opinions on things and how their value of employees and just across the board. Like, Sint runs an organization significantly different than they would.
That's probably why she's not there anymore.
Yeah, maybe.
So they bought it when? Late 23?
December 20th, 23.
Okay, so very quickly Cuban has kind of moved out. You said January 24 is the last time you saw him in any significant...
At least on the business side. He might have been hovering around basketball stuff, and I don't know where that tug-of-war kind of ended. I know...
Did they travel in 24 to go see Luka? Did we send a party?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that was Cuban.
He was there.
Oh, he was?
He was there.
Nico?
That was 20. That was 23. That was 23.
Okay.
That was going into the 23-24 season that we went to.
Slovenia, no?
No. That's Abu Dhabi and Madrid preseason.
Got it.
Cubans there. They were also there.
The Dumonts?
Yeah.
Before they had bought. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they were a guest on the trip. Dumonts and Adelsons were there.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're big fans of the region. That's wild. I guess I didn't think about that. So was that when you were made aware of them? Like, hey, who's the...
I mean, I know who Miriam
Smurf?
Adelson is. Like, I can pick her out of any lineup because I'm just a person that knows people.
I knew who she was, but I had no idea that she was involved in buying the Mavericks until she bought the Mavericks.
No.
So back then, were there, leading up to December, like that fall, where internally you guys, like, something's happening?
There's always, over the last couple of years, there had been like, Mark's really in the shit now. Like, something's going to have to happen.
Some crypto thing
Yeah,
or something?
yeah. Whenever, like, FTX, like the Tom Brady-backed Giselle Tom Brady crypto thing, they were like, Mark lost the money on that.
Bankman,
yeah. It was like all of that stuff. And then, you know, we had a deal with like a crypto wallet company that went belly up, and it caused like a whole bunch of like weird lawsuits and things like that. And I knew Mark was staked on that stuff at some point, right? And I know he was trying to launch cost plus drugs and things like that, so his interests have always been kind of like, it's always there's a side thing going on, but you don't know like how into it like he was or how much financially he's into it. And then there was just always whispers of like, hey, Mark might be exiting soon, but I heard that for like 3 years leading up to that. So I never took it very seriously. And
so you didn't know till it was announced?
No idea.
So
no idea.
How did things change then? You said like Cuban kind of dissipated from the business side, but like for you guys, how did things change? Did anything get better? Did things get worse at all?
I'm trying to remember the first 6 months or so that they owned the team. It was
same.
Did not matter. It didn't. We didn't know them.
Plowing ahead. You're just.
We didn't see them. The only thing, I guess, that raised kind of like a red flag in the first 6 months or so, was nobody got playoff bonuses. We went to the NBA Finals and we did not get playoff bonuses.
And how is that different from the past then?
That is the one on the side of the 99s on the other side. 99 out of 100 times that an NBA team has gone to the playoffs or finals, they have gotten playoff bonuses, I'd say.
All people that work for the team.
Yeah.
Because you're working overtime now. We're doing extra
Dude, I
work.
remember one year, my brother, when he was working for the Saints, I think he made like his salary, and then he made like 80% of that again on like 2 playoff games. He was making like $32,000.
So
they made like $10K per game, and the Saints won.
Even one round?
Yeah.
You would get playoff bonus?
For sure. Yeah. I've been there when we went one round. Clippers series. Yeah.
And is your bonus, how much is it? Is it a percentage of your salary?
Depends. Yeah, it depends what position you have. It's not like life-changing, but it's,
$10,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's pretty nice, yeah. Especially after working for 2 extra months.
Yeah, because, that, like I said, is where they're making their money.
Yeah.
So if you're going to work all that time extra, they have to, they got to give you a kiss.
Well, I guess they don't.
Yeah,
you aren't obligated to.
You went all the way to the finals.
Yeah. Just like you're not obligated to like give Rondo a playoff check or whatever. You'll realize this stuff if the situation gets weird enough. But yeah, we worked for 2.5 extra months.
So that has to poison the atmosphere a little bit.
Yes. Was
it ever addressed?
It was addressed as if it was going to happen. It was stated that it was going to happen.
And then it just
That's
didn't.
even worse.
And it's way worse because now they know, and it's not like, oh, shoot, I didn't know y'all do that.
Yeah, and then it didn't get ultimately approved. And that was one of the first ones where I was like, huh, that's a really weird, there's very few ways you can tell an employee in a meaningful, impactful way that I care about you and you're valued and like I really appreciate what you're doing. Compensation is like number one. It's number one. And if every other team does it and just about every other sport does it and we're used to it, and we've worked for a guy that was very generous with his money over the years, and the first chance you get to go, hey, I really appreciate y'all. Y'all are doing a great job. This is meaningful. Thanks for making us, some number of $1 million per home game.
Boy, and that's extra hurtful just because then they were told, hey, this is what everybody does. Mm-hmm. This is how it's done. And they said, okay, we'll pay. And then they didn't.
They didn't.
Wow.
But if you think about like the timeline, there was that whole pager attack to plan, and that stuff takes money.
I don't even know what you just said.
Just what I said.
I know what he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark had other interests, so do the Adelsons.
I think
it just happened to be a genocide.
To answer your question, Dan, of like when did things start changing, I guess the thing that through the first like 6 to 10 months or so that started standing out because there was a lot of arena stuff that was planned, because there was a lot of broadcast stuff that was happening. What I slowly started to realize is they had no idea what they bought. Zero idea what they bought.
It's like
in terms of financials, books, future 3 to 5 year plan, how this works, how this functions.
The broadcast part of it is probably
broadcast, and I bring that up because the broadcast part links directly to that bonus situation. They bought the team and did not realize there's going to be this gap year before Amazon jumps in where we're actually going to lose money on broadcast no matter what. And they got in and they had big plans early on and they wanted to do this and that. And they realized someone tapped on the door and said, did you know we're going to lose tens of millions of dollars on broadcast this year just because Bally's sinking and we aren't on Amazon yet? And they did not know that. And everything changed from then.
Damn. Well, the good news is they were able to stay in the black.
Of course,
that's the
sports
important
ownership
thing for sure.
For the next couple of years.
I mean, but sports ownership is, Cuban famously would say, I lost money, like every year I own the team. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But when you do sell the team, then you kind of make it all back and a lot more.
For sure. That's part of owning a team. It's a long-term investment. It's a place to like private equity is getting involved in sports ownership for a reason.
Yeah, I mean,
because
that's
of
a
a
silly
long
thing
enough
to say.
timeline, you're making a lot of money. But they had no appetite for a loss.
That's wild.
So-
I mean, anything you buy, right? Like we bought the lake house and knew, like, well, we're gonna lose money renting it out but we're gonna profit when we sell it. Is that no one
Hopefully.
told them that?
Yeah.
That's the name of the game in sports.
So besides having to work tons of overtime and then really not getting paid for it, did anything else like significantly change just for you, your job? Were there other people chiming in on what you should do, or they kind of left you alone?
No, from that point on, it was not really. I mean, we were really solid. We were large. We had 25 people, I think, on my team. Like, we were one of the more stable, one of the more competent engines of the organization. So, and I also don't have to, like...
They didn't know what you were doing anyways. So
they don't know what I'm doing anyways. They don't care. They're just like...
It ruled.
Yeah. I'm just like, we make $4 million each year off sponsored inventory. Cool. Everybody happy with that? All right. See you next year. It was that kind of deal.
And even $4 million for a team, I would imagine that's kind of under the radar. It's
It's not. Yeah,
whatever.
that's exactly right. Like, tickets is 80 to 100 million, right? Other sponsorships inside the arena, whenever you see whatever on the skirt of the court is, that stuff's whatever. I don't know, 50 million or something. Like, it's pretty low stakes. But it's also, that's the balance with doing any sports team and being in content for a sports team is like, it is the thing that fans know you by. It is your most immediate connection to the fans is content and social and your presence in media. But it also doesn't make you like a ton of money, so you got to thread this needle between like spending enough on it and doing it well, but not getting where you're dumping $8 million into it every season, unless you are the Lakers or Warriors and can get crazy numbers on your sponsorships.
So what was it like going into this past season then?
Things were pretty good. I mean, it was good. You heard, I think Luka was injured like really early, wasn't he?
There was a pickup game injury in the summer.
Yeah. It was pretty normal. No one was like yelling at people about budgets. They did bring in the summer was a little weird. They brought in like this is a funny story that I don't know if I'll spend a ton of time on, but they brought in a guy who was handpicked by ownership to be the chief financial and information officer. So CFIO. We have a CFO. We have a CTO. So he's just over these people now. And he's there for a couple months. And judging from what he did, he was told to go find the money and fix the money. Like, he's in there just slashing people's budgets. Like, just going nuts.
How did Roundball talk?
It's pretty low. It's pretty low spin. Well, this is after he's gone.
Okay.
This was during the summer. He comes in there and he's there.
He's a bushwhacker.
He's there. Yeah. He's a bag man. He is showing up to take the money out, and I will find you. I will get y'all even again. And he's there for maybe 3 months, and he's gone. One day, just gone. And I have to believe that's sent. Going like, this ain't working, dude. Like, you got to get out of here. Like, I'm not standing for this. And then, yeah, pretty early on in the season, Sint let us know she was leaving, which is weird.
I'd love to know her candid thoughts on working with the Devons.
Do you think it's all related?
For sure. For sure. Yeah. But she let us know, I can't remember the date exactly. She gave us like a couple, 2-3 months maybe, of after this date, retired. Well, it was end of the year. So it was maybe a month into the season. She let us know she was going to retire and step away. And then it instantly becomes, okay, like there's no one internal they're going to bring in to do that. Is this going to be someone from the family of ownership that runs like the Sam's company or something like that?
Yeah, I thought we were getting the nephew.
Yeah.
We have like a Kendall Roy fail son somewhere in the mix here, and I thought he interned for Cuban for the basketball team.
So
Yeah.
do you believe that if Cuban never sold the team,
Mm-hmm.
obviously Luka's still there, but Sint is still there. You're still there. I don't remember if Scooter left before that because Dirk hired him away.
Oh no, Tomlin would have stayed, I believe.
Tomlin left in
Tomlin
23.
would have gone.
Certainly
Casey would have stayed.
Athletic trainer who went on to win Athletic Trainer of the Year.
Yeah,
with the Knicks.
I don't think the issue was Tomlin leaving. It was that they replaced him with somebody who didn't do sports PR, which Cuban would have done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it were a different person.
Yeah, Tomlin left in before the 23 season. The Abu Dhabi Madrid trip, he was basically already gone, but he went on the trip because they let him bring his wife and have a nice goodbye trip.
How was Luka to deal with?
It was different from the beginning to the last couple of years, I would say. Like, it got more difficult, more people to run things through, and more people to, like, get a yes out of before you could do something later in time. But that's a global superstar. That's not it. I'm not judging his, like, character or anything.
It was
by
never
him.
upsetting.
No. He was honestly great. Like, person to person, great.
Because even us dealing with him after having dealt with Dirk all those years, that's the thing. When you raise the bar with personal relationships with Dirk, and then all of a sudden, anyone who follows Dirk, you'll say, gosh, they're not Dirk.
Right. That's not fair. That's not fair. And I dealt with Dirk a lot as well, right? And I know going in there, like, I was hired the month after he was drafted. And so I think Bobby was the first person to do anything with him on camera. I was the second person to do anything with him in terms of a bit. Bobby interviewed him. I did stuff with him at the first media day. So we've known each other for a long time. And I've seen him kind of evolve where the first couple of years, it's like his mom's there and she's the agent. And it's like very easy to get things done. And it's like whenever a person is reclusive or doesn't like the spotlight or whatever, like, I'm not mad at somebody for being that way at all. Like, I don't judge you if that's not your personality. Just because it's ours and we like to talk on radio and do video and all this shit and we're comfortable with it, like, if someone's not, I've never had a problem. I know people would critique him, and there's been a lot written about, like, doesn't like doing media, hates media stuff, and it's like, okay. And?
Yeah, I think the bigger thing that people try to get a judge on someone's character is, like, Dirk would always treat everyone top to bottom really well. That's the ideal, right? But, Dan knows from his friend who works in Cleveland that, like, when Kyrie was early in his career, he did not.
Yeah.
And we've known enough guys who play for these teams, and some of them don't.
Yeah.
And that's kind of probably expected.
Yeah, he's on the good side of that.
But I do know
1,000% of how he treats
the small
people.
interactions, it just seems like he's got that part down. I don't care what you do after that.
Oddly enough, because sometimes you say guys change for the worse, Kyrie, I believe, has changed for the much better.
Oh, he's the very rare Kyrie Beltre.
He's grounded, got a little grounding shoes. Did you actively look to leave? Like, you're at D Magazine now. We can talk about that. But
when the trade happened,
just
specifically,
at some point, did it become like I gotta leave? Like, this is happening. These people are leaving. Is that what happened? Like, I don't want to answer your question for you.
Sure.
Like, why did you leave? I guess eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're kind of the frog in the pot and it starts boiling and you don't realize, like, it's boiling around you. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of things were changing. A lot of people were leaving. Sent left. I was like, okay, let's see what Rick Welts is about. And I don't have a relationship with him. I don't know what he's about besides New Arena. And then the trade happened, and now I don't want anybody to think I left because of the trade. That is not what happened at all. But the reaction to and the way you handle things like that does shine light on everything that's wrong with whatever's going on in your organization. And so it just reminded me of a lot of things, and some things got worse, and some decisions that directly affected me I did not have say in. And it was just time, man. It wasn't like a spiteful kind of leave. I wasn't like, I'm getting out of here type of thing, to be honest. Wasn't a great 2-3 months after the Luka trade before the lottery. I think everybody, if you're a rational person, was kind of like, yeah, if this is how things are now in this job, I did not sign up for this. This is not what I agreed to do. And so I'd gotten to an okay place after the lottery. I got to an okay place of cool. Well, I'll build Cooper Flag the same way I did Luka. Dirk will come back at some point and be a part of the organization, and I'm one of the people inside the organization that is constantly beating the drum for like, hey guys, we can acknowledge that the team existed before 2000, before Mark bought the team, because that was never been a thing in my time there.
It's a nice opportunity to lean into it too.
Yeah, and that's the Hardwood Classic year. I was like, I dove into that really, really hard. Like I have a whole storyboard that they're gonna execute next year, and like all this stuff for Hardwood Classic. So I just kind of dove into that, and then the D Magazine thing came along. My friend works there, Mike Palucci, was the sports editor, and he'd mentioned they were trying to level up their game, and met with him a couple times, and I was like, you start setting bars and standards and boxes you have to check for me to be interested in working somewhere at this point in my career. Like I'm not just leaving to go, bartend or something like that. I've reached a point in my career where I can kind of like demand a couple things and have people say yes or no, and y'all have been there, obviously. And they kept saying yes and kept checking the boxes, and I was like, oh, okay. Like the toughest thing for me is not leaving the Mavs or leaving working for a basketball team or leaving the person I reported to or whatever. I had a team of 25 people that have been through the same things I've been through, and that was probably the toughest part of it. The rest of it's just business at the end of the day at this point.
Do you have a team and everything, or
with the magazine?
Yeah.
Do I work for you now?
Yeah, Jake. I just managed Jake, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a different thing.
Yeah. No.
I'm pretty used to you just being like, F you. Like.
So you're a Mavs fan, right? You grew
Absolutely,
up a Mavs
dude.
fan,
I grew up here in South Arlington. I went to Mavs camps. Like, I was 9 years old and losing my shit when Brad Davis walked into the gym at my Mavs camp.
Are you able to admit that that's the second worst retired number in the NBA?
In the NBA, that's tough. I don't know all the numbers in the NBA.
Well, I do.
He does.
Well,
he knows them all.
I researched them all. Jungle Jim Loskatov is the worst,
Okay.
stat-wise for sure.
There's a White for the Celtics.
Okay.
Bench White. They retired his number.
They got a lot of those.
I think Bobby Phills might have more impressive numbers than Brad Davis.
I mean,
and
maybe he was
Bobby
good
Phills
at drinking.
Only got in there for car racing. Not being good at car racing.
No, I was going to say car racing.
Right? That's how
he got in there for dying.
Well, that's what I mean. He died drag racing.
Yes, but it would be super funny if there was an NBA team and that guy like retired and somehow made it to F1.
But he was so bad at this. Like, it was like the worst thing he could have done, and we should retire his number.
Yeah, he could play a little bit though. I mean, it wasn't definitely not a jersey retirement level of player, but
what is your fandom like now?
I mean, I've had to kind of like negotiate that with myself, as everybody has in the last probably whenever the lottery was. I definitely want to experience the Cooper Flag time with my favorite sports team of all time, whether or not they've done things that I disagree with over the previous history. So whenever he starts playing, I'll watch, and I'll be a part of it, whatever level. I think more realistically for me to be all the way back in is it seems like they're really setting up this 3-year kind of time frame. AD's deal is up in 3 years. Kyrie's deal is up in 3 years. Gafford's deal is up in 3 years, to where it's going to be fully Cooper Flag's team in 3 years from now. And in that scenario, there's a new, I don't think they're going to sell the team, but I think there's probably a new leadership on the basketball side if things don't go correctly. And maybe then I'm all the way back in. Whenever it is just Cooper Flag's team and we can start all the way back over.
Yeah, you gotta get rid of Nico. To me, this is my personal opinion: is you must get rid of that stench. That is a stench on the franchise. I even see, and people on Twitter, so you can't react to that. You know that better than anybody, but like guys saying, "Oh, this is ridiculous." Mavs fans, you shouldn't boo Nico at the thing. You got to get over it. No, not going to get over it. Gonna boo Nico anytime. Why is he still working there? He effed this whole franchise. He totally he fell ass backwards into getting the number one pick, unless you want to believe that
fortune favors
it's rigged, which I still believe, even when I have people tell me exactly how it can't be rigged. There's no way.
Can I add some context to the Fire Nico chants the other night? Because I was there. I was standing in front of those people when they started doing it.
I heard a little bit about it, but go on.
So the pick, whenever the pick was going to be made, they were going to switch to the ESPN version so people in-house could watch the ESPN Adam Silver walkout thing. Like, they're doing a live stream. That's on the court right there. They put the ESPN version on the Jumbotron. Of course, he announces the pick, and the camera on the ESPN feed, not on the thing the Mavs were producing, cuts to Nico. And the fans start chanting that, and all the while, Mark Aguirre is on stage, losing his mind about how just being back in Dallas and people just embracing him and that kind of stuff. And so obviously, I mean, I turned around and I was like, guys, like, this is really weird. It was a collision of trains in my head because I'm watching Mark Aguirre sit there and like start bawling about how Dallas is embracing him. And then in my right ear, like right behind me, people are yelling Fire Nico. And I know Follow got agitated by it because he just wants to get past that. But that exact moment, it was I understand why people did it, and I understand why people wanted them to stop doing it. Like, I get both sides. But yeah, that was the context of that moment. I know it comes out of it as like Underdog Sports just tweeting a video about people yelling Fire Nico at the Mavs watch party. It was 10 seconds.
Yeah, we brought it up yesterday because I had heard from someone that said it played in there, and I was just trying to get to the bottom of whether or not it was like surreptitious, which it wasn't. It's just the luck of the draw. But I do think you kind of have to know when ESPN's going to do a little package before the pick. It's probably going to involve Nico, and it's probably going to involve people being upset with Nico. So you kind of had to know it. I was just suspicious because when I went to the Laker game in April, one of his threes that he made, it might have been the first one, the in-arena, like the circle graphic, was a Mavs graphic, and it was a Howie Luka graphic. And only once did that happen, and I thought, hey, I was a board op.
Well, what about?
I know that occasionally you press the wrong button. You're like, someone proved to me that was a mistake.
Yeah.
But
how are you going to do it?
That's the thing, too, in your job, having to scrub.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Any mention, like, he was the only mention he's the only thing that he's on everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's.
Like, that morning after the trade, are you like.
Yeah, I didn't even know where to begin. I was just like. Yeah, we had a game. We had a game at noon that day in Cleveland. Like, they had to do a press conference before the game.
Like, did someone call you, like your boss say, you have to get Luka off the website, you have to get Luka off this, you have to
black him out of the video.
I don't really run.
Did you do that?
No, I didn't. No one in the Mavs did that.
No one in the Mavs put, like, the Mavs logo over Luka's face? When he
Nope. No one in the Mavs did that. No one in the Mavs did that at all. Whoever Dero had editing that video did that.
The rapper.
Yeah. And he put out a statement saying as much. Like, that was their decision. But no, I mean, I luckily don't have to do a lot of scrub. I don't run the website. We can't. It was impossible to even fathom deleting all the things on social media that he was on, so we didn't even try. It's banner images, sure. But it's also one of those weird things of, like, it shows you the divide between, like, the business side and the basketball side. The trade opened up a lot of that, but, like, the media guide page still had him on it. I was like, everyone else was told, like, update this stuff if it's, like, a consistent running thing. And then, like, you'd go to whatever, the stats page, and he's just still on the virtual media guide. And I'm like,
sounds like a well-run machine.
Did y'all not get the memo? So, no, I didn't have to scrub anything. I think some of the social managers did, but.
What's AD like to deal with?
He's actually fun. He's a fun dude. I mean, all the, whether or not you think, like, the prank show thing is lame or not, like, I don't know. But I just. He's actually.
Give us the truth on that.
Well, I've never watched it. I don't know. I have no idea.
There's only one episode as far as I know.
Really?
No.
I think.
No.
Did it keep going?
Yeah.
Did I miss the big wave of hilarity that?
It was just a special?
Was it? Oh.
Yeah, I thought he was announcing that it's going to be a new show, but then they only had one episode, and now he doesn't live in L.A.
Oh, that must have been.
Next to all those dorks.
I mean, for a dude that is a 10-time All-Star that has a little bit of a reputation of being either, difficult or whatever, my few interactions with him were really cool. Whenever he got traded here, I had to make the graphic with his stats on it. And he technically had not been to 10 All-Star games yet. So I put 9 All-Star games on there. And he commented on it hey, it's been 10.
I remember.
And then I corrected it and we put it back out there. Anyway, the first time I met him, I was like, hey, dude, I'm the guy that messed up your graphic. And he just started laughing and gave me a hug. And he's like, dude, it's all good. We had a cool interaction.
I never got the idea he was a bad guy. I think he's kind of a dork a little bit, but I'll take it.
No, I think he's for a professional athlete that is going to be bumping up against billionaire status at some point. Pretty cool.
Deal with it, Dan.
Did you have any interactions with Nico? And what was that like?
Very few. No one-on-one interactions, no. No, I mean, the only time I think I had an interaction with him that was with somebody on my team was, I think it was maybe in Memphis or something. A fight broke out in a lobby, and somebody thought someone from my team was involved in it because it was super late at night, and it wasn't. And some of the people from the basketball side were saying that it was this person, and I was like, just go talk to Nico. Go talk to him and tell him you can't do that in a workplace. You can't say hey, I think it was you downstairs. You're still working whenever you're traveling. And yeah, I didn't think his answer on the matter was adequate, but
did you work there you've worked there a while, Donnie Nelson was around, Haralabob?
Yeah. Yes.
Pandemic?
Yes. Donnie Nelson used to sit behind me on the plane. We would talk a lot.
Ever talk to Haralabob? Donnie Nelson's the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never in my interactions with him. Just the friendliest dude.
Yeah.
You'll ever meet.
Very
never
much
interacted with Haralabob though?
No, I never did.
So we know him better than you?
Yeah, you do for sure.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
I want to book him again soon.
Yeah.
I think Bobby knows
politics.
him pretty well, and me and Bobby used to work closely. But dudes on the basketball side, I would never force my way into knowing them or having some kind of relationship with them. I think they appreciated that.